In this lesson, we're taking a look at the song Beautiful Things by Benson Boone. This song is still pretty new at the moment and it's super popular, and it's pretty easy to play. We're mainly going to be focusing on just open chords, but there are a couple of bar chords and one cheeky diminished chord in there as well, but I'll take you through all of that and show some simplified options so you can still have fun jamming along if you're still in the beginner stages. With regards to the tuning, when they play live, they just use standard tuning, possibly because it's a little bit easier on the voice, but the record is actually a semitone higher, so I'm going to be showing you with a capo on the first fret so you can jam along with the original. So just remember that I'm going to be referring to all the chord names and fret numbers in reference to the capo, so everything's going to be found one fret higher than usual. But with that in mind, let's dive in and take a look. So for the first chord of the song, we're starting with first finger playing the 5th fret from the capo on the A string. That's the root note, so this is going to be a D chord in this context. Third finger is playing 2 frets higher on the D string. We're going to make sure that the first finger is barring the higher strings because we're going to pick the barred note on the B string next before hammering down with the little finger 2 frets higher. That gives us our first chord, so A string, D string, B string. And in terms of the pick in hand, I'm using thumb, thumb, second finger. That's my preference, but you could use thumb, thumb, first finger, or thumb, first finger, second finger. Whatever feels most comfortable for you, just stick with that. The next chord is going to be just a standard A chord. We're going to do the same picking pattern, but without the hammer. So just A string, D string, B string. Then we're moving to an E chord and we're just moving the picking all down one string. So it's going to be low E, A string, then the G string, and we're going to pick the note and then raise the pitch by pulling down with the first finger in the fretting hand. Just gradually raising the pitch of that G string. What it actually does is pull the third of the chord up to a fourth, so it's kind of giving a bit of a sus4 effect, but it just adds a little bit of character to the harmony before the singing comes in. So there's your intro, the D, the A, and the E with the bend. Now if you're in the early stages of guitar and you find the barred part at the start quite difficult, you can just use an open D. For this we'll be starting with kind of a D sus2 shape, so remove the second finger, and the picking is now going to be the D string, the G string, then the top string, but hammer the second finger back down. And you actually end up with exactly the same notes. So here's the barred one, and here's the open one. The open one just sounds a little bit brighter, but that'll be absolutely fine for playing along. When the singing comes in, we're going to be playing the D chord again in the same way, the A chord, the E chord, but rather than doing the bend on the E chord and letting it sustain, we're going to move to an F sharp minor, same picking, so E string, A string, G string. Again, if you're a beginner and you struggle with the bar chords, you could just use an F sharp power chord and just pick the bottom 3 strings. It might sound like there's a little bit of kind of harmony missing, but at least you'll be in the right pitch and you'll be able to play along with the song still. You can still have fun playing it. So that's the start of the verse progression. We've got the D, the A, the E, the F sharp minor. And then the second round of chords in the verse is the same as the intro. So the D, the E, the A, sorry, then the E with the bend. Then that 8-bar phrase repeats again, so it'll be the D, the A, the E, the F sharp, and then the D, the A, the E with the bend. Into the next section, which kind of acts like a pre-chorus because it's where the song starts to build up a bit. The rest of the band enters at this point, and to emphasize that on the guitar, I'm going to change from finger picking to finger strumming, but you could keep the picking going if you prefer it. Also, I'm going to be using the open D chord, but you can keep playing the barred D if you prefer that as well. So we're going to start with a D chord to an A chord, then we've got this really nice move. Now what's going on here, we're starting with an E major, and then from the E major we're going to slide the 3rd finger up 1 fret, and we're also going to pop the little finger down on the 3rd fret of the B. Now that gives us a B diminished chord, but we could also think of it as an F diminished over B, because there is an F note in there, and the reason it sounds so good is because in terms of the harmony we're hearing an E to an F to an F sharp. That's why we get this nice voice leading. So we've got the E, we can call this an F sharp, an F diminished over B to an F sharp minor. Sometimes the theory makes it more complicated than it needs to, but just get the position changes down and you'll get that nice kind of transition. And then the next line of the pre-chorus, we've got our D, A, and then E for a full bar again. And then last line of the pre-chorus, we're going D to A, and then F sharp minor, E, D, pretty quick changes. We're going to do a RAL on the D, meaning we just kind of slow down and let it sustain for a while. And then the very last line of lyrics in the pre-chorus, we're going to strum a B minor to an E, and just leave that to ring out before the next kind of chuggy palm muted bit comes in for the next section of the song. Just before we move into that section, I'm just going to do a quick roundup of everything we've done so far, because there's a lot of variations on a similar progression and it can be easy to get quite muddled up with all of that. So we're starting with the intro with the barred D with the hammer, to the A, to the E with the bend. Then we start the verse back to the D, to A, to E, to F sharp minor. Then the intro again, so D, A, E. Then just the verse part repeats, so we've got the D, to A, to E, F sharp minor, to D, to A, to E. Then we're into the pre-chorus, so we've got the D chord, to A chord, to E, to the diminished, to the F sharp minor, then D, to A, to E, just keep strumming away, then D, to A, then F sharp minor, E to D, do the RAL on the D, strum the B minor, then the E major, and then we're ready to move on. Into the big build-up section now, and the first thing you're going to notice is the fact that we've changed time signature from 4/4 to 6/8. So rather than thinking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, we're now thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a very big change of feel that kind of gives the song a bit more momentum. I'm also using a pick from here onwards because we're going to be doing down-strummed palm muted chords, starting with a D chord, so 6 strums on the D, to A, to E, to F sharp minor. So that progression is very similar to what we've had in the verse already, just obviously in 6/8. If you struggle with the F sharp minor, just use an F sharp power chord, that'll sound absolutely fine. That progression repeats again, so it was D, to A, to E, F sharp minor. Then the third round of chords, we're just doing the D to A to E. And that E is going to be all 6 down strums on the first bar, but then only 3 on the second bar. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Then mute the guitar because the chorus is about to come in. And you probably also want to gradually reduce the palm muting as the pre-chorus goes on to emphasize that crescendo and kind of build up the sound. So for example, at the end, you might get this kind of sound. Just helps gradually build it up. So just to run through that whole build-up section, remember all down strums, all palm muted, 6 strums on each chord. It's going to be D to A to E to F sharp minor to D to A to E, F sharp minor, then D to A to E. Interesting also to note that we're just doing those 3 strums in the last bar, but the bass does actually play the 4th beat. So if you're strumming and playing it and singing it on your own, you might also want to strum that 4th beat, but in a band context, you'd probably be expected just to play the 3 beats in the final bar. Chorus now, and this is a huge section, so we're going to lose the palm muting and just strum as loudly as we can. We're going to do 4 down strums on an open D chord, followed by a rest, so muting the strings with the strumming hand after the 4th strum. And then the vocals will fill that gap, and then we're going to do the same on an A chord. And then we're going to finish off with the F sharp minor and the E, but we're going to do all 6 down strums on those chords. Then we're going to repeat all of that, so the D to the A, F sharp minor, and E. Now another optional extra you can add in is this bend after the D chord and A chord. And essentially what that does is double up the vocal an octave lower, so just adds a little bit more beef in the track, so that would sound like this. But you don't have to put that one in if you find it difficult. What I'm doing here is just kind of a curl style bend on the 4th fret from the capo on the G string, and just kind of trying to quickly get between the chords. You could integrate that into this rhythm part, or you could get the lead guitar player to do it instead, or if you could do it on the second run through if you're layering stuff up and looping. I'm about to show you that lead part in a second, but just sticking with the chords for now. The next round of chords that finishes off the chorus, we're sticking with the same progression. So it's going to be D, A, F sharp minor, E, but we're not going to put the gaps in. We're just going to do the 6 strums in all of the chords on the first 3 bars. So that's the D to A, F sharp minor, but then the E, we're just going to do 2 big strums. And that's going to end the chorus section. There is a kind of linking section that follows, which is just piano. Now the piano chords are just the D, A and E, so what I like to do to mimic this on guitar is hide the pick in my fingers and just strum with my thumb instead, so you get a bit of a softer sound. So that was D, A to E. Just let the E ring out until the second verse starts, or if you're playing the second chorus, this is the end of the song, so it actually repeats that piano section, so it's D, A, E twice. So let me just run through the whole chorus with all the chords, so you can hear the timing as well. So we're starting with the D to A, F sharp minor and E, same again, then the third time keep the strumming going, 2 big strums on E, then quiet little piano style chords on D, A and E, and then at the very end of the song you'll repeat that, so D to A to E. If we take a look at the lead overdubbed parts now, this is what I was playing on the demo. And essentially what's going on here is we're using octaves to emphasize the 3rd of each chord. So over the D chord, we're going to be playing an octave rooted on the 9th fret from the capo on the A string. So first finger is going to play that note, and then I'm using little finger to play an octave higher, which is 2 frets along and 2 strings up. But you could also use third finger if you find that more comfortable. And then just make sure all the other strings are muted. The strumming is going to be exactly the same, so it's going to be the 4 down strums followed by the rest. Then move it down to the 4th fret from the capo, still on the A string. This is on the A chord. Then we're moving down a string but up a fret, so this is going to be the 5th fret on the low E string. And then down to the 4th fret on the low E string from the capo. And as I mentioned, the strumming just follows what we've heard in the chords. So the first 2 are going to have that rest after the 4 strums. The final 2 are going to have all 6 beats strummed. So it's going to be on the D chord, then the A chord, then the F sharp minor, and the E, and that all repeats. And then for the final 4 bars of the chorus, the lead parts, you can definitely hear that there's some more high-pitched guitar going on there, but it's quite buried in the mix. It sounds quite nice when it's all blended in, but it's hard to figure out exactly what's going on. So after just playing about for a little bit, this is what I came up with. And it seemed to fit quite nice, so I'll teach you how to play it this way and you can adapt it if your ears pick up something slightly different. So what I'm doing here is these little 2-note dyad shapes. So I'm going to be using 3rd finger playing the 11th fret from the capo on the G string, 2nd finger playing the 10th fret from the capo on the B string. And in terms of the right hand, I was just doing kind of a little strum and then picking between the 2 strings. So that one fits over the D chord. Then take the 3rd finger off, pop the 1st finger down on the 9th fret from the capo on the G string. Same kind of picking, strumming. That one fits over the A. Then over the F sharp, I'm using the 3rd finger to play the 11th fret from the capo on the D string. And I was just doing down strums on these, making sure that all the other strings are nice and muted. And then finishing off with the unison bends, which you can hear quite clearly in the track. We've got one with the 1st finger playing the 9th fret from the capo on the B string, and then bending the 11th fret from the capo on the G string. 2 unison bends there. Then slide it down 2 frets and just 1 unison bend. So that ending. Okay, and that synchronizes with the 2 strums on the E, and then the last one is the first piano style chord on the D. So those are the lead parts. Definitely if you've got a looper pedal or some recording software, try doing the rhythm and the lead together and it should all harmonize quite nicely. Also, just in terms of the sound, when I did the demo, I just put a little bit more distortion on the lead parts as well as a bit more delay, just for a bit of ambience, and that seemed to work quite nice as well. So definitely have a play about with those effects if you've got access to them. Following the first chorus, we have the second verse, which is very similar to the first verse, apart from now we're still in 6/8 rather than 4/4, and the melody has also been adapted to the new rhythm, which is quite a cool feature. But chords-wise, it's very similar. I'm going to go back to the palm muting just to bring it down from the chorus. So we've got the D chord, to A chord, to E chord, F sharp minor, then D, to A, to E for 2 bars. Now in the first verse at this point we would have repeated that progression, but in the second verse, to keep the song a bit shorter, we're just moving on to that pre-chorus. So we've got the D, the A, we've got the E, the F diminished over B, and the F sharp minor. So that nice voice leading movement again. And then to finish off, we've got the D, to A, and then the E again with the 6 strums in the first bar and then the 3 in the second bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and then the rest at the end straight into the second chorus. So just to run through that second verse again, we've got D chord, to A, to E, F sharp minor, to D, to A, to E for 2 bars. Then pre-chorus D, to A, to E, to diminished, to F sharp, to D, to A, and E. And then following that, you've just got another chorus, and that concludes the song. So that gives you all the parts. Just remember at the end of the second chorus, the piano part at the very end is twice as long, and that gives you the full structure. So have a go playing along and enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed jamming along to this one, and fair play to anyone who can play and sing along to this one, because there's some incredibly high-pitched vocals in the chorus, especially for a male voice. So yeah, very powerful and quite impressive, to be honest. There's plenty more songs and guitar lessons on my channel, so head over and feel free to subscribe for more. I'd really appreciate you giving this video a like if you found it helpful, and I'll see you for another lesson soon.